Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to I Care About You, the podcast where we dive deep into our well-being, our subconscious mind, and ways to really figure out who we are and how to love ourselves. I'm your host, Juliana J, and today we're talking about the hard truths around helping people and how challenging that can be sometimes. You know, you think you're helping someone, you call it kindness, your moral duty, part of your spiritual path. You define yourself as a compassionate human, and you feel dedicated to spreading love around the world wherever you can. And you feel like if you don't do it, the world will just kind of fall into this disrepair. And it's really part of it is just a struggle with how we see the world and ourselves within that and what we want to be as a human being. You think you're doing the right thing, but are you? As we all know, helping people can be either draining or enriching. Helping others can make us feel tired, overwhelmed, burned out, or can leave us feeling energized, expansive, peaceful, and even refreshed. So I want to talk, this will probably be a 2-part series because there's so much to really unpack here. One of the things I want to talk about first is something I found in myself. I always thought I was helping people. It was my moral obligation. It's part of my spiritual path to be always putting out loving kindness. And to me, I thought of loving kindness as this unconditional love that I just gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and tried to not expect anything back in return. But oftentimes I would get taken advantage of, or people didn't want it, or all these types of things. And I always thought I was doing the right thing. But recently I had to question that. Am I doing the right thing? Because there's a particular someone in my life who needs so much help all the time, and they've never really taken agency for their own life. And I was getting to the space where I just can't do it anymore. It was so draining. And it led me to kind of take this deep dive into what is it really like to help people, and how can you help people, and can you help everyone? I started to reflect on all the times that I have been in a position of helping people or I needed help. And the differences between things that left me feeling drained or energized, things that left me feel like it was enriching and deepening the relationship, and situations that made me feel like it was chipping away at the relationship, things that helped me build up reliance and build up resilience, and things that drained me and made me feel resentful. And what that all looked like. And I took a deep dive into what Carl Jung talks about when he talks about helping people. Why does somebody like the person I'm talking about leave such a toxic taste in my mouth while helping others feels expansive and positive? Here are some hard truths that I learned from Swiss psychologist Carl Jung and his understanding of helping others. It turns out that Carl had a few perspectives and valuable insights to be aware of when helping others. As a self-proclaimed people pleaser, I found the following really eye-opening, affirming, and some of it a little hard to swallow because I saw it in myself. So here are a few of my takeaways. It's easy to get trapped in the wheel of caring too much. If you're someone who is doing work on yourselves or deep spiritual work, you're really diving deep. If you're emotionally intelligent, spiritually aware, and you believe that it's essential to put good out there in the world, it's easy for you to get caught in the cycle of helping people who are not interested in personal growth or reflection. Because really the act of helping the outcome should be personal growth and reflection on both sides. It's not a one-way street, but sometimes it's the opposite of that. And you help someone because it's your nature to do so. But then I realize over the course of knowing this person for decades, they've never changed really at all. And they are exactly in the same place as they were before, struggling with the same things that they've always been struggling with, maybe struggling their whole life. And there's no growth or reflection there. And that is where the drain comes in. And when you have a lot of people like that in your life, you slowly become the person everybody comes to with their problems because you are an understanding person and you'll always be there. So it becomes this one-way street. And down the road, you might feel just exhausted from it all and maybe taken advantage of. We tend to even help if the act of helping costs us something. We get caught up in the cycle of helping people who won't help themselves. We end up doing all the labor to solve the problems while the person does nothing. And maybe even we solve the problem for them, but they have learned absolutely nothing from it and continually repeat the same patterns over and over again. And then coming to you when they need to be bailed out or they need to vent or something like that. Oftentimes, they're never grateful. We get no gratitude back. We get no thank yous. We get no I'm sorries. We don't get any of the language that we personally need for closure of the situation. And so it's just left open. And then another one comes and that's left open and so on and so on. And that becomes a huge burden over time. And I want to say a caveat here. I'm not talking about helping with a social cause or a crisis that it's around the world or that we're facing right now, or working in any kind of thing like that. That's a different scope. Although there might be micro levels of this happening within that organization, but overall, I'm not really talking about that. And in addition, helping during crisis is a whole other ball of wax. And if you want more information on helping folks in crisis, you'll find it in my book, Reasons to Live, which is out now and available everywhere. And there'll be links in the description. But the whole second half of that book is really about helping people in crisis. But today I'm talking about those chronic people that come to you all the time for help, or people you want to help that are very close to you, like a partner, or children, or family members, or really good friends, even coworkers. And I'm also talking about how you receive help and what that looks like for you. Another reason that can kind of get you into this over helping is if you break a soul boundary. Carl also suggests that if you do not ask, if the person doesn't ask for help and you continually try to give them help anyway, you have crossed a soul boundary, meaning you are awakening your own shadows by helping somebody who doesn't need help. So let me explain this. Your shadow may be one of feeling unnecessary, feeling invisible, unloved, unworthy, not needed. And it's easy to seek proof of your value by helping others. Putting others first and being selfless are all excellent virtues, but sometimes we use them to validate ourselves rather than just giving freely. If that is true on some level for you, then this is your work, not the person whom you perceive as needing help. You need to reflect on that yourself, which I am totally guilty of this, I realized. And this is one of the reasons why I help, to feel needed, to feel real. There's a lot of times in life where you don't even feel real. And in helping others, you kind of get that. And this can actually be a form of codependency masquerading as virtue. It seems so simple now that I am talking about it, but for years, this revelation was hidden in my shadows. I didn't realize that helping others was really about my own self-worth and value. Every time we insert ourselves in other people's lives without an invitation, we disrupt their life paths and their lessons that they're meant to learn. We, in essence, rob them of their experience, and instead, we assume the work. We don't give them that space to grow, kind of like those helicopter parents that won't let their kids play on the jungle gym and things like that. We don't allow the other people to explore those lessons because we're always trying to save them. We don't want to see them fall down to the bottom of the well. And so we help them. But when we do that, they don't learn their own lessons, like this person I was talking about earlier. Everyone always bails them out. So why learn how to be self-sufficient if someone will bail you out every single time? Sometimes in helping others, you lose yourself. Again, yes, I can totally relate to this. Kindness without boundaries isn't a virtue. It isn't real help, and it isn't healing for either party. And this I didn't really get. I thought if I have this selfless help belief system, then that was really spiritually virtuous for me. But the hard truth is, without parameters, without invitation, without reflection, help isn't help at all. It's actually harm. I know that's harsh, right? That was hard for me. I was like, wow, that's so true. At least in my case. This person I mentioned that I've known for a long time, I can see how his lifelong quest for help without personal change has made him hollow. He has worn people out with his need, He has damaged relationships, he's faced challenges at work, and he seems genuinely bewildered when problems arise. He has no tools for coping with it or resilience. He has never learned how to work through challenges or to grow or to self-reflect. He has never been in a position where he had to make his own changes, and he has always relied on others and doesn't know how to rely on himself. He doesn't realize how resilient, strong, brave he actually is. Instead, he farms that out to other people, and I'm sure that has a lot of damage to his personal self-esteem, self-worth, and value. It's so easy to become lost in another person's need. You begin to do their labor, their work, and take on their life lessons. You sacrifice yourself again and again just to prop them up for another day. Your life's work becomes helping the person stay afloat. And if you set a boundary with them long ago at the beginning of the relationship, perhaps it wouldn't become so consuming. Sometimes this person I'm talking about is just suffocating. I literally feel like I can't breathe. Often helping him comes at an expense. I lose something in the process, whether it's something like money or some kind of object, or it's some part of me, or I let myself down, or my own beliefs and guiding principles get put to the side, or I do less, be less, try to shrink down so that it won't make him feel lesser. So you really end up just shifting your whole life to accommodate the person. Now, there are certain types of folks that you can't help. And if you try to help them, you're interfering with their personal journey. So you think you're doing good, but actually, are you? Some people take more than they give. Some people they're not even grateful. They never say thank you. They don't really reciprocate. Some people feel that it's their given right. It's an expectation that they will be helped. Possibly they grew up their whole life being just somebody who can't take on their own work and everyone's helped them. And now it's become this expectation that everyone do it. Some people refuse to see the part they played in issues that they face, and some people do all of these things. So let's explore a few commonalities or character traits Carl identifies in folks who are not able to receive your help, however good intentioned you are. First, there's the people who want everything for free. And I'm just not talking about lack mentality or acquiring items for free. A lot of people, instead of simple things like going out and buying their own shirt, will want you to give them whatever you have that they think is cool. Little things like that, they're just kind of taking rather than doing their own work to even go out and get something for themselves. But I'm also talking about people who don't want ownership or responsibility for actions. They want to be free of effort, free of accountability, free of expending energy. They, in essence, are not aware of equal energy exchange. They rob you of your energy and they do not replenish it. Carl Jung refers to this as the law of psychic compensation. That is, if there is no general sharing of effort, whether it be money, effort, transformation, change, then you, the giver, absorb the baggage of the exchange, thus causing the feeling of being drained, overwhelmed, and burned out. That's kind of how it shows up for you. So if the person is one who expects everything for free, you feel drained every time you help them, and they play on you, almost manipulating you sometimes to think you're a jerk if you aren't helping them, but they're not giving you anything in return, not even a thank you. You take on their trauma, their fears, their inabilities, their problems, their unresolved issues, everything. And fair exchange is hard sometimes, even when we're actually paid for it. When I was a massage therapist, I was paid to give massages, but oftentimes folks would come in and just unload all their problems and issues and grief on me while they were getting the massage. And then they would say goodbye and leave. Even though they were paying me for the massage, they weren't paying me for being this listening ear or this therapist or trying to help them with their problems. And eventually that led me to pursue other career. There were other reasons for pursuing other careers, but that really was one of the major things was I just couldn't take on the burdens of my clients anymore like that because I wasn't prepared for that. And it wasn't an equal exchange. The equal exchange was about massage, not about the other part. Then there's the people who refuse to self-reflect. If you can't self-reflect, you can't have lifelong change. This can be witnessed in friends who blame the universe, the world, and other people for their problems, people with harsh negative outlooks on life and feel as though they're never given a break, they never win, people who think they have bad luck or are always getting the raw deal, people who expect negative outcomes all the time, they just expect it before it even happens. They are the people who create drama as a smokescreen. They can be people with extreme personas, such as being overly macho or always acting like they're really incapable. These folks are often very judgmental as well. They refuse to see their own hand in any of it. They refuse to acknowledge the shadow that is presenting itself. They close their eyes to their own unconscious patterns, fail to explore their own beliefs and inner dialogue, and show no interest in working on themselves. Sometimes they never change, but replay the same old patterns over and over, expecting different results. Often they live in the past, glamorizing and romanticizing the good old days of their own personal life history. As other people move and grow in life, they tend to remain relatively unchanged, retaining the same likes, dislikes, ideas, beliefs that they have since they were young, and they never question it. They project their problems onto everyone else. They will say it's your fault, our fault, the government's fault, family's fault. If you try to have a boundary with them, they'll call you mean, a bitch, whatever, a jerk. When you stop enabling them, they accuse you of abandoning them, of being cold, of being uncaring, selfish. It hurts when your nature is one of compassion and they know how to push your buttons, so they're going to do it. They aren't necessarily bad people, they're just stuck in victimhood, emotionally frozen, stunted, and probably scared. They are stuck in their own suffering. When you help them, you are pulled into their suffering and it drains your energy. You will also become a scapegoat for any of the problems that follow. Have you ever tried to help someone and the more you offer solutions, the more they resist and find excuses? If so, ask yourself, does this person want clarity and agency, or do they want to stay in their comfort zone of confusion and chaos? Remember, the next time you run into a person who is unwilling to self-reflect, think of this. What is the real goal? And then there's the person who wants to be saved. These people are really hard to resist. On the outside, they seem willing to take your help, but they are not with you in the process. They are hoping you do all the work for them. These are the people who may even ask to help, but do not want change. They're looking for a healer, a fixer, a caretaker, or a hero of some sort. Another hard truth, they are hard to resist because helping them feeds your ego. It's disguised as compassion, but it really makes you feel good about yourself because you're helping them. These folks can make you feel needed, and for a while that feels great. It might even feel like you found your calling or purpose. But over time, it becomes your life, your problems, your realities, and you start living through them, and their problems are yours to fix, to solve, to make good again. You carry the emotional load. If you've ever been in a relationship where you routinely start making excuses for someone else's behavior in public or asking them to behave when you go out to visit friends, do you feel embarrassed to be around them sometimes? And let me ask you, isn't their behavior their work? Really, you should be able to tell them something and they remember it and work through it. And if they aren't willing to do that, then they aren't self-reflecting on their behavior at all. It isn't your job to monitor them. It isn't your job to read the room or act accordingly. It's their job. If they expect you to do that work, then they're looking for an escape from the responsibility and accountability. If you are always offering excuses for their actions, then they are avoiding taking responsibility and the change that comes with it. And over time, this can degrade your relationship. Now, again, I am not talking about people who might not have the capacity to do that for some cognitive or mental reasons. I am talking about people who are capable of that. These people may begin to suffer from feelings of shame or incompatibility, and they will blame you. This is how you end up exhausted and confused, because not only are you helping them all the time, but you're also being blamed for it, but then being asked to help, but then being blamed for it. It just becomes, you lose yourself, becomes very confusing. And sometimes you even wonder if you're not going towards mental breakdown. There are two things I want to point out here. One, it is your perception that they need to be saved. This is only a thought, it's not a truth. In severe cases, we may decide someone needs help, but self-reflecting on why you think the person needs help is a huge part of the work. If you want others to face their shadows, you need to face your own. So ask yourself why. Why am I giving this person help? Is it to feel good about myself, or is this really an exchange that's worthwhile for both of us? Secondly, it's okay to fall for this. It's really easy. Your kindness is beautiful and essential. You don't have to continue helping if you find it's becoming a roller coaster. If you find yourself in a situation where you're repeatedly asked to help and feel like you are doing the emotional labor every time and nothing changes, it might be a sign that you need to have a hard conversation with them. This hurts and it's hard, but it's better in the long run than being emotionally abused down the road continually. Then there are the people that weaponize your help. These folks are manipulators. They seem to want your help, value your insight, praise you for your wisdom, and then twist it against you. These people are often ruled by jealousy, narcissism, greed, envy, and other negative emotions. They project their insecurities onto others instead of seeing it in themselves. When you help these folks, you are diminished. They don't feel grateful, they feel powerful. They may feel smug that they were able to get you to do the work for them. They may feel you owed them your help and support, and they will take more and more and more to feel a power jolt. They trap you in obligation, saying things like, "Why won't you help me? You said you'd always be there for me." They rewrite the story so that you become the reason for the issues. It's about their superiority and their control. Carl Jung felt that if you help these folks, you feed their shadows because they're not seeing their own weaknesses or issues in themselves. They're projecting them onto others. Now, I got to say here, I'm guilty of this too. We all project at one time or another. It's hard to take ownership of a mistake or something that happens. It's incredibly painful to confront our own flaws and the things we dislike about ourselves. So at times, we all project, and that's okay. We're not perfect. Shadow work is hard and painful, but it's worth it. And it's something we will work on for the rest of our lives, so we don't have to solve all these problems right now. Don't feel bad if you see yourself in one of these categories. We are all in there in some flavor or another. Notice a shadow when you see it and take time to do some self-reflection work. I don't know if you see a pattern here, but the people we're talking about do not grow, do not self-reflect, do not work on themselves, and they do not do any type of shadow work. The major difference between you and these snippets of character traits are the fact that you do some of that deeper work and they do not. I don't think you would be here if you didn't do the work, if you weren't doing the work. Then there's people who reject reality. These people might gaslight you to avoid confronting an uncomfortable truth. They may lie, they may deny their emotions, they retell the story with rose-colored glasses or some other type of lens. They are often stubborn, refusing to see the other person's point of view because that might conflict with a fantasy they've created. Carl's work is all about seeing both the light and the dark in yourself and the balance within. Transformation is not possible until we are willing to see everything. If you want to know yourself, you need to dive into the waters of your subconscious and be willing to see it all, the ugly, the beautiful, and everything in between. If people are not willing to see themselves clearly, they often fantasize and deny and distort. Carl Jung said people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And if you step into that avoidance by helping, you don't just lose them, you lose yourself. So here are some commonalities between all these types or traits. They reject responsibility for their own lives. They don't self-reflect. If you try to help them, their wounds become your wounds. Their illusions become yours. Their stories yours. Their identities yours. Lives, shadows, problems all become yours. You will become part of the problem. It will drain your energy and it may stop you from living authentically. They are emotionally stunted. They tend to be takers, not givers, and they will reject your boundaries and push at them. Sometimes your help is not about them, but it's about your own shadows. So now let's talk about the flip side of this. Who is open to genuine help? When you give help to the right folks, it's transformational for both sides. It's a powerful force and one that feels much better than trying to help somebody who doesn't want it. There is a respect of your time and your energy and your boundaries. They value your help. Your help is seen as a gift, not an expectation. These people heal and grow and prosper alongside you. There is an exchange of help and support. These folks respond to your help, reflect, grow, shift, engage. and transform through the mutual exchange of support. They offer the support you ask for, they don't judge, and they offer comfort. These people take responsibility for their lives, their health, and their happiness, and are willing to change, evolve, and even look at a shadow that has been holding them back. They are usually lifelong learners and curious folks. They are on spiritual journeys. They are responsible for their lives, for even the messy parts. They make mistakes and wrong turns, but they own it. One thing that's really important about these folks is they walk beside you. You are not carrying them. They respect your beliefs and are curious about them. They don't simply reject them as false or dumb or ridiculous. They are not excuse-based. Often, when they do make an excuse, they might circle back and acknowledge that rather than defend it. They're gracious, freely giving gratitude and reciprocating when needed. The energy feels good. You don't feel drained. Instead, you might find yourself having deep, gratifying conversations with them. Your relationship deepens with time. They see that the energy between you is one of safety and not judgment. You feel genuinely cared for and nurtured. And when time comes where you need to carry each other, you do. And it's met with gratitude and reciprocation. It might not come in the same form you gave it, but gratitude and reciprocation comes. These folks listen deeply and are genuinely interested in getting to know you. They accept you with your flaws and all. They discuss their shortcomings and work on what doesn't serve them. They self-reflect. They're open to suggestions. They'll argue their point, but they'll be open to yours. They appreciate your honesty. You walk beside them, amplifying their courage and their power without interfering or taking on their lessons. You aren't giving your power away or sacrificing yourself. You are supporting in a way that feels healthy and mutual. You can feel the energy moving and the high vibrations of a nurturing relationship. You learn from the person and they learn from you. You walk together down the road of personal growth. You can let go of fighting the resistance because there isn't any. And you can see that their growth is your growth. It flows like waves out into the community. This is a sacred exchange Jung is talking about. This is what he meant by balanced relationships. So I hope that helps you a little bit in helping people. Here are some final thoughts to remember. Remember that kindness is a powerful gift. Protect it with your boundaries. Protect it from folks who will use it against you, weaponize it, deny it, twist it, or refuse to accept it. Self-reflection is a tool to better understanding yourself, your shadows, your reasons for doing what you do, and it taps into your intuition. If you can self-reflect, you will find that feeds your intuition so profoundly. If you're wanting to get more intuitive, that is one of the avenues in. When you amplify your kindness with the people who will accept it openly, you create ripples, and the ripples become waves. So next week, we'll probably talk about how do you wrap this into your beliefs of being a kind person and what that looks like. But for now, my dear friend, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment about any challenges you might have with helping people or any advice you might have, because we're a community here at I Care About You, and we're all helping one another be more fulfilled and happy and joyous in our lives. If you think this might help somebody, please share it with them. And again, my dear friend, know that I love you and I care about you and I support you. And you got this. You do. So take good care, my friend.